After a long winter's nap, it's been a little while. I'm going to ask Danny Farley to do our invocation.
Good morning, everybody. I lost my brother-in-law in 2013, Jim Fitzpatrick. I had his prayer card. It's been queued up, waiting for me to come in and read. Prayer we all know, so join me. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not be so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Join us for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All the things we say.
Will be beneficial to all concerned.
Your day is supposed to leave. We haven't been here in a while. Yeah. It's been a month.
All right.
Good morning, Gate City. This one we have 49 members in attendance. We have one guest Rotarian, John Agaris.
Good morning, folks. I'm John Agaris. I'm with First Citizens. I am new to the area, visiting Rotarian, looking for a club, so...
Cool. You found him.
Yeah.
How did that hurt? John, it's nice to have you with us. John, you just relocated.
I'm really glad that
He knows it was you.
Hope you make him feel well.
How's that neat?
Rick, Horace, Rick Martin.
Right here.
You need a new
Did you have
name.
any special days in the last week?
Man, I tell you what, we got special days, and we go back to December since we hadn't met. So, have we got a list today? We're going to start with birthdays and cover our December birthdays. Is Mark Patrell here? Mark?
Nope.
No? Oh.
Sue Mark.
Okay. And Mr. Charles Vale, a.k.a. Chip, had a birthday on the 27th. Yeah, happy birthday. And for the month of January, Mr. Chris Justice, I know he's here. Yeah, January 4th. Happy birthday, my man.
Thanks, sir.
We missed it there. And club anniversaries. Did Rusty Hopkins come in? Yeah.
See him.
All right. And let's see, how about Gail Stansel? Her seat's empty. Gee, all right. Moving on. And wedding anniversaries. Once again, Mark and Kim had a 16th year anniversary coming up on the 12th, so we can congratulate him later. And Kim Kinka, I know you're here. Your bride, I think, had a birthday on the 1st of January, right? Yeah, so we'll wish her a happy birthday there as well. That's our report, and we're up to date now.
Rick, thank you so much.
You bet.
I appreciate it. After a long winter's nap, it is so good to be back. Got a little rusty there. We'll practice up on our four-way test. And Justin, I want to thank you for getting the Santa's pictures together and everybody that played the guitar. I know Tom Richardson, Jeff Tillman was playing, Walt Howell. Did anyone miss Walt Howell's sport coat? You're going to have to wait 11 and a half more months to see that again.
It's on video. It's on video.
On the video.
On the video.
Appreciate you guys playing guitar, man. That was really good. Past President's Committee. Who's here that is on the current Past President's Committee?
Chip person.
Okay. Okay, well, I want Buster, on behalf of the club.
I don't know nothing.
Well, you all should have had in your inbox the report from the Past President's Committee on the award of their grants, the Past President's Committee processed 16 grants and did a great job of stretching the dollars. And I think just about every one of them was funded, and they just did a great job of stretching the dollars they had to put to work. And thank you guys for all the applications for that. You know, it's been 3 weeks, and it's been a long 3 weeks, and longer 3 weeks for some of our members than others. As you know, Dan Quinn's mother passed away over the holidays. Dan cannot be with us today, and in anticipation of that, he sent a letter. So he asked me if I would share this with the club. So you do this. Close your eyes and just pretend this is Dan Quinn talking to you. Dear Gate City, I'm only a little bit sorry I can't join you today. After a challenging holiday, Katie and I are taking some much-needed ski therapy this week in British Columbia, and unfortunately, Judy cannot attend. I think the doctor has put her on the no-fly list. Another great day to be a Gate City Rotarian. My family was overwhelmed with the outpouring of support from the club. We were uplifted in every possible way and humbled by the generosity of your affection. As I've told many this week, life is a lot easier when you have good parents. My siblings and I were all blessed. Thank you, Bobby, Chip, Buster, Jim, Mike and Mary Ann, Tom, Robbie, David. I'm doing this without benefit of the sign-in book at this time. I'm sure I've missed someone for coming out in the rain to see us. There were a few questions. I just figured answering to the group would be easiest. Yes, my parents were very attractive. No, I'm not adopted. No, I can't explain it either. Dan sends cheers to you, and I know he regrets not being able to thank you personally for the support during that time. Kim Dane, can we make a quick announcement
Yeah, we sure can.
on the special event?
Yeah, I think we got an email about a week ago from Chip in regards to the Out of the Garden meal packaging project that's coming up in March. And it's on a Saturday, it's March 2nd, so that's a great day for us where a lot of us aren't obligated to our profession, some of us are. But if you can, it's a great day to bring your significant other, husband, wife, kids, whatever, to help pack. So I will send out the link again so that you can sign up. We would really, we've got a show of about 8 Rotarians, plus their significant others, husbands or wives coming, so we need quite a few more to sign up.
Well, I know there's probably 35 the last time I looked.
Okay, good.
From other clubs that are signed.
Yeah, other clubs, but ours, there's only about 8.
Well, this will go fast.
Yeah, this will go fast, and we only have till the 1st of February to sign up. So I'll send the link in the email out again, and we really encourage you to join us for the afternoon.
Great. Yes, it is. It's from, I think, 1 to 3.
1 to 3.
This is a great event. It's a fun event, and if you have never been there to Out of the Gardens, the warehouse out on Highway 68, it's just remarkable. I think throughout the day, there's going to be, it could be 80 or 90,000 meal packets put together. Does that sound about right, Christy?
It does.
Am I stretching things, or do you think we can do 80 or 90?
No, I think that's accurate, and it really is an amazing event. Everybody coming together and seeing all the hair nets and the macaroni and bag packaging, yeah, it's quite remarkable, and we're so grateful.
It is quite, and I think you might even get to keep your hairnet. I'm not sure. We'll work something out on that. We'll work something out on that. Matthew, do you have anything at this time for?
I do. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's about 3-4 times a week this past week. I've been going up and down Valgron Avenue with Chuck in the truck, and she points out trash all the time. So I told her that I'd make an announcement, and we're going to do a trash cleanup, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, which I think is the 19th. I'll send out an email. She'll be there. We'll put her to work, and that's about all there is to it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for taking that on board. At this time, oh yeah, Ross.
One thing, Blake Hunt's mom passed away Monday night.
Oh, really?
Haven't seen anything in print, haven't seen Blake in a while, but it's unusual we don't see you in email, so just keep him and Bob and the rest of the family.
I'll get something out to the club on that. Thank you for sharing that. Well, this time, are there any other announcements we want to cover? It's been 3 weeks. Not hearing any other announcements. I think at this time I'd like to call Chris Jackson up to the front. Dale Harrell up to the front. And Bobby, I'd like you to come up too as a sponsor. And Tom Nelson, did I see you slip in? I think it's here.
Yeah.
Come on up here to the front. I want sponsors to come up with the members for the exchange, for this special event. Guys, come on down. Yeah, chop chop. Let's start over here. Dale, I want to exchange the special day when we exchange the red badge for the blue badge. And I wanted Tom to be up here as your sponsor for this event. And I'll swap with you if you're ready to give it up. Very good. I thought that one shirt's going to give that one back. Chris, your sponsor said, "Where's your?" Oh, that's all you got. Got here. I thought I was going to have to ask you to sit down and do it another day. Swap with you there. Yeah, baby. And I think it's important that the sponsors be up here because this is a process where, you know, we need to be kept on track, and the sponsors are also responsible for helping to check off the items on the list from getting from the red to the blue badge. Yes, thank you. Appreciate you. Appreciate your sponsors. I appreciate you guys and your involvement in the club. That's it. Thanks. Buster?
He said he needs to join a committee.
We got it. We got you.
See Mike Conrad.
Yes. Did Buster Lewis get in here? Where is
Cash dollars, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Good morning. I want to thank Ralph Jones for allowing us to install carpet in his house. Thank you, Ralph.
So what tell us about the carpet?
It's wonderful.
New house.
Yes, I did move. 20 years. I've
$1.
From,
Dollar.
Happy dogs. Yes, we moved, sold our house December 15th, didn't have a house or anything to live in until December 15th, lived with my in-laws, a friend in town. A lot of questions about my marriage were coming up. I was having a great time because I was having a pool house and it was awesome. But so we moved in on the 15th. I was under the assumption that I was going to move in Saturday and we were going to have pictures up and watching TV on the sofas on Sunday night, like from a dorm room to an apartment. It didn't roll that way. We're still in boxes.
You didn't say which week.
It's kind of questionable.
in the first year, Mark?
Well, I'm telling you, we still have a ways to go. But yeah, it was a good move.
Dr. Mock.
You know, we don't do the sock challenge, at least I haven't done it in a while. So this morning,
I just want to take a moment to say how grateful Don and I and all of us from Out of the Garden are for all of the amazing support from Rotary, from the Rotary International grant that we received, for our new urban teaching farm, as well as the amazing support from this club and many other clubs. I'm so excited and proud to be a Gate City Rotarian, and thank you.
Thank you.
So I've shared with some of you that Emily and I are expecting our third child at the beginning of June. We now know it's a boy, so we're going to be 3 boys deep.
And working on the basketball team.
You're sitting at the right table with the girls. You got I like this. Marley got to start working on another girl.
Boy, better keep his tongue down.
Okay, so over the break, I became a grandfather for the first time. My youngest daughter, she had a baby. December 29th. The little boy's name is Luke Piper.
Every once in a while, some of you may know, we like to test out the emergency medical system here in Guilford County, just on your behalf. My son tested the trauma department with the orthopedics, and we decided to go a different route the day after Christmas, and I tried out the cardiovascular system here. and had a minor little heart attack the day after Christmas.
Oh my gosh.
EMT sent a really nice ambulance over. The EMT happened to be the sister of one of my patients, so well, warm and welcoming. They knew who I was, greeted me by name. That was great. Took me straight into the cath lab. The cardiovascular surgeon on call immediately cleared the blockages. No heart damage was done. I've got a brand new stent in my heart, and apparently I'm free and clear to do whatever I want now.
Wow.
If you're gonna have a heart attack, Guilford County is a great place to do it. Yeah, there it is. So that's a big thank you to Guilford County EMS and Moses Cover.
Kind of in tune with that kind of bittersweet happy dollar. I have 3 children. I don't know if y'all all know that, but the youngest one was at the Christmas party, and she did a happy dollar for getting an A. And we went and traveled to New Orleans over Christmas, and I could hear her gasping for air at night, right? And in dentistry, we see a lot of sleep apnea. We see the consequences of it. So I kind of self-diagnosed her, immediately got her to a sleep study. Sleep study, she's definitely apneic. Immediately got her to an ENT. ENT said, yes, it's her tonsils, her adenoids. Within a week and a half, our health system actually went through 2 specialists, got her adenoids, tonsils out. She's coming home today. She's recovering well. My wife said last night, no snoring, no gasping. Watched her blood oxygen all night. It was great.
First off, I want to thank the club. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but Enduring Gratitude, which is February the 9th, we're going to take 150 to 160 veterans out, give them breakfast, shoot some sporting clays, big lunch, some kind of important high mojo speaker, and then we're going to shoot 500 pheasants off a tower, pack them all up, and send them all home with whatever they hit. It's usually about 40%, but they have one hell of a time. We're at 90 veterans, and we need more veterans. So if you are a veteran or know of a veteran who would enjoy this, we're fully capable. We'll have 1 volunteer per veteran, basically. So if we need to help somebody get somewhere, we'll do that. We'd love for you to come out, enduringgratitude.org. I'm going to present to the president's meeting Friday and ask for some Rotary help, but I would love for you guys to come in. The club has given us a very nice donation. That's $5. Then I have a little bit of a funny story. I have a farm up in Virginia, and my dog Jesse, who Mike and I thought we were going to put down 2 months ago, is still hobbling around, bad arthritis, bad back, bad hip, head caved in from some kind of nerve damage that we can't figure out, and he's still hobbling along. So we're up at the farm Saturday, and my farm is either, it goes like this, or it goes like that, except for at the tops or the bottoms where it's sort of rounded a little bit. So normally we leave Jesse on the porch. Jesse cannot run with the big dog anymore. And so we go up and we're tracting. We're up there about 45 minutes, and we turn around and we're giving Wilder a tractor lesson. Believe me, he can drive, but he needs tractor lessons. So we're coming back down the hill, and lo and behold, here's Jesse. It's been the wettest winter of all. Jesse's covered in mud. You can't tell what color he is, but he is hobbled up that hill. That dog still has spirit. I just can't put him down yet. Yesterday at the office, here's the good part. Yesterday at the office, I have him out in the yard. They roam, they don't go in the road, they're well trained. Lady pulls up that I know and says, "Are those your dogs?" I said, "Yeah, they are." And we strike up a conversation. About that time, another lady slams on the brakes and says, "Excuse me, sir, is that your dog? He seems to be limping, and he's going over there." And I said, "Well, yeah, he is. We were talking about having to put him down this week, and he took off." He's not gone yet. He's still here. He's in the truck right now.
Well, you know, New Year's resolutions, eating healthy, out of the garden project. You know, thought about something Grandpappy said. He said, you know, I just hate it when I go to the store and I think I bought organic vegetables and I get home and it's just regular donuts.
Don't let the truth in marketing. I'm so pleased this morning to introduce a friend of mine. Eddie Wooten and I go way back. Our boys were in Boy Scouts together, and That's probably been 10 or 15 years ago, probably about when we were 30, wouldn't you say?
That's right.
That would make us about 40, 45.
I'm still 30.
I'm 45. So, Eddie, many of you know Eddie. He doesn't need a big introduction, but just to let others of you know, he's a native of Farmville, North Carolina, and a lifelong resident of North Carolina. Eddie graduated from the University of North Carolina in 1984. And while there he met his wife Valerie, and one very interesting distinction, Eddie attended every single one of Michael Jordan's home basketball games. Wow, what a lucky guy. Well, Eddie first penned his first article for the newspaper industry at the age of 13. It's for the Farmville Enterprise, and he's been writing ever since. He's been writing for 41 years. He's the sports editor for the News and Record, and this is his second tour as sports editor. So many of you will know him from that, and some of you will know him from the sports blog Running Shorts. Eddie's an active runner, just completed his 25th marathon in November, which my hat's off to you. That's TV1 marathon. My hat's off to you. Eddie, come on up and share with us a little bit about what's going on in the News and Record and in the sports world.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you guys so much. Chip, thanks for the invitation. Chip and I ran into each other at a symphony, I don't know if you've heard about their Hops series, but there was a jazz concert at Fire Brewing, and we ran into each other there, was that November? Yeah. So that was good to catch up then. So I appreciate the invitation, and just thank you for all that you guys do in this community and beyond. I went onto your website, I've looked at some of the projects that you've been involved in, a lot of the groups that you help, and that's just really vital work that you're doing. And obviously you're all committed, a big group here today, so thank you for all you're doing to make Greensboro a better place. I want to start just with one thing that I've heard a lot recently in the community, and you may be wondering, the News and Record is still in Greensboro. We have heard that question a lot recently, and I want to talk a little bit about kind of why that is. The newspaper itself now is being printed over in Winston-Salem at the Winston-Salem Journal's printing plant. We're both owned by Warren Buffett's BH Media. So in an effort to cut costs and help some of us retain our jobs and to still be able to do journalism, the decision was made early last year to begin printing both of the newspapers under one roof over there. They also print several other community papers that BH Media owns in North Carolina there as well, so it's kind of a big operation. It does come with a downside, and do you have any fans of the sports section? Or maybe you used to be fans of the sports section. That has been a, there's no sugarcoating that. It's been a really difficult time for us because our printing deadlines are now earlier. So we have not been able to get as many night events into the newspaper. Sometimes you'll see a bare bones account of a game like Duke and Wake Forest from Tuesday night. You didn't get coverage of the State Carolina game from Tuesday night. Clemson's national championship was kind of late for any of us in the industry to get that in, and those are certainly big events. We're all happy to have retained our jobs, but I've worked in sports for a long time, and I love having a complete sports section, and so we've had to work and do some things differently to try to present a good sports section, and hopefully for those of you who are print subscribers to retain you as customers. I did want to talk about our staff just a little bit, and that is a key part for us. We're not big in numbers, but we like to think we do offer a lot of quality. We have 4 full-time sports writers and 1 part-timer. We have Brent Wilkerson New is actually lives in Durham and covers the ACC schools in the Triangle for us. So that's a lot of State, Duke, and Carolina. We do use the Winston-Salem Journal's coverage of Wake Forest, so we feel like we know that ACC sports is important to people here in North Carolina and in Greensboro.
And so we feel like we're able to take a pretty good swing at the Big Four schools. I still call them Big Four, and sometimes you'll see that in print, and that's, I'm kind of old school that way. We don't hear that term that much anymore, but Brant does a good job for us. He's a young guy. He's got a lot of energy. He's got a lot of ideas, and he likes to learn. He likes to try different things. So that's been, he's been a good addition to our staff. Joe Serrera covers high schools, and that's another area that's very important to us in our community. High schools are a bit of a fractured audience because you might live in the Page District or the Grimsley District or Northwest, and you may care intensely about that school, and maybe not quite as much about the others, but collectively that's a very important part of our coverage, and that's largely sort of focused on the schools here in the city, and I count Northern and Northwest, some of the Compass Point schools, I guess, as city schools. So Joe Serrera covers for us, and Spencer Turkin, our part-time writer, who you might also know as A&T's radio play-by-play voice, covers that for us. Jeff Mills is a guy who's another veteran writer. Jeff covers a lot of different things for us. How many of you are going to the UNCG basketball game tonight? How many of you know what UNCG is up against this week? They've got this team, this is a very good mid-major basketball team. And they've got two key home games, one tonight against Wofford and one on Saturday against Furman, which actually cracked the top 25 earlier in the season. Wes Miller is doing a great job coaching that program. These guys play defense, they listen to their coach, and that's not happening in college basketball everywhere these days. But those are really two key home games for them tonight. Jeff covers UNCG and has done a good job. He followed that having covered A&T football back in the fall, and A&T football is on a tremendous run as well, and that's been a fun thing for us to keep up with. They made a great transition with their new coach this year, Sam Washington. He's a pretty fun guy. He's a little different personality than Rod Broadway, who was just incredibly successful in bringing A&T out of a really tough spot they were in with the NCAA. Their graduation rates were pretty poor, and Rod brought them out, and they've won now, I think, two Black College National Championships, I think, in the last 3 years. So really good stuff. Jeff Mills is on top of that for us. And then our columnist, you probably don't need much introduction for him, but Ed Harden has been at the News and Record for a long time. He doesn't hate your school. He doesn't hate your team. He's an equal opportunity needler. But Ed has a lot of experience in a lot of different areas, certainly football and basketball and the number of events he's covered over the years, but he's still hanging on to loving NASCAR, even as it's gotten a little less easy to love these days. He's been involved with coverage of the Panthers since the team was created in North Carolina back in the mid-1990s. And my favorite thing that he writes are when he writes outdoors columns, and I don't know if you ever read his columns, but those are the favorite things that I like to read, and I will read them. And then my usual MO is I'll have questions for the reporters, so I'll call them up, or I'll call them into my office, but I'll call Ed after, let's say it's a fishing column, and I'll read it and I'll say, is everything in this column true? And Ed's response is always, every word of it. And I'm like, okay. So those are things I can't verify as an editor, which is a little unsettling, but I'll take it.
Great column.
I trust him, I'll take his word for it. Yeah, if you see an outdoors column or a holiday theme column, he wrote one recently about a big football game that used to take place in Charlotte when he was growing up, and those are always just terrific. We talked a little bit about college basketball. One of the things and one of the reasons we do spend as much time and energy as we do on the ACC, I don't know if you know this, but Greensboro annually is either the first or second highest rated TV market for ESPN basketball broadcasts in the country. And that's not total eyeballs, but that's the Nielsen rating, the percentage of viewership. Louisville is the other market, and that's obviously a hotbed with the Cardinals, or University 6, as some people refer to them now, from the FBI probe. But Kentucky obviously being a big deal. But Louisville and the Greensboro, Winston-Salem TV markets annually 1, 2 in TV ratings. So that's why we spend the amount of time that we do covering ACC basketball. We talked a little bit about UNCG and A&T. Some of the other things that Jeff Mills is involved in. Jeff is really kind of a general assignment reporter for us, but lots of other good things are happening in town at different points of the year. Jeff has done a great job covering the Greensboro Grasshoppers, which, after the new stadium opened in, I believe that was 2005, that doesn't seem like it's that old. I think this will be the 15th, is that right? 15th season is coming up in the new ballpark. It still looks great, and Jeff's done a good job covering the team and kind of introducing us to some of the Grasshoppers who would go on to the major leagues, and until just recently that has meant going to the Florida Marlins or the Miami Marlins, playing a couple of years, and then getting traded to a good team. So he's done a good job with that. He also covers the Wyndham Championship, and some interesting news about the Wyndham this year is it'll be played the first weekend in August, and that's going to be a really interesting time because the PGA Tour schedule is pretty compact this year. So I think the tournament hoping, and we're sort of hoping, because we're sports fans too, that maybe a field which has been good in recent years might even be just a little bit better this year in front of a shortened playoff season, and a playoff season that doesn't have an open date in it, or an off week this year. So Jeff also, and me on occasion, but Jeff has also had what I consider a privilege of covering some of our area's. Some are really the best athletes, and they're not athletes who came up or who have excelled in stick and ball sports. Who would have thought that Greensboro would produce a gold medal winning Olympic speed skater? I mean, how cool is that? But he's been involved in covering Joey Cheek, Heather Richardson from the High Point Native. He's done a lot of stories about her. She's living, of course, in Holland now with her husband, who is a world-class distance speed skater. Caroline Lind, the rower from Greensboro, is an Olympic gold medalist. He's done a lot of work with her as well. And John Isner, the tennis star. I don't know how many of you maybe know his parents or him. John is as good to deal with as any athlete I've run across in my time in the business. One little anecdote, I don't know if you remember the match at Wimbledon. He got to the semifinals at Wimbledon this year. It was the furthest he had gone in a Grand Slam tournament. And of course, true to John's game, John plays the tiebreaker game in tennis. And if he figures if he can get a guy in a tiebreaker with his serve, he can usually beat him. So he's playing Kevin Anderson in the semifinals, and they go back and forth literally for, what was it, almost 8 hours. Anderson finally subdues him. John couldn't hold serve in the 49th game of the 5th set and loses the match. All right, so it was a really incredible thing. We had done a lot of coverage back here, writing stories about him, putting it on the front page, getting it on our website. On Saturday, the next day, I'd gone up to Hanging Rock for the day, so I was out of cell phone range. When I got back down the mountain, I had a Twitter direct message on my phone from John Isner. And he wanted to thank us for all of the coverage we had done. Now, he's still in England, but he had heard about it, he had seen it online, and he just wanted to thank us for all of the coverage that we had. Now, we're not in the business for that, but that was just really cool after this guy played this epic match that he took time to thank his hometown newspaper. So that was really nice. He also said, hey, by the way, I'm coming home, and if you guys want to talk to me, I'll be around. So that was, he's really a first-class guy. I want to say a couple of things we're also trying to do. We are trying to keep up as a sports staff with some of the trends. Obviously, a lot of news readership is digital these days. I've made that shift. I'll occasionally pick up a print edition, but normally I'm reading online. All of our staff writers are on Twitter. I don't know if any of you are on Twitter, but it's a way I learn what's going on in the world. It's kind of a quick way to figure out what's happening. Our staff is on Twitter. They're offering insights when they're at games. We do promote our work there. I would say one thing about the digital world, obviously you see a lot of things. You see a lot of things on Facebook, or you see a lot of things on Twitter. It's more difficult today to know what that source of the news is. And so there's I think there's a lot of distrust, certainly maybe of legacy media companies. But it's just real important for you to know where the news is coming from and how legitimate the organization is. Are they committed to accuracy? Are they committed to finding all the facts? Any news organization is going to have opinion or commentary, but are they able to present the facts accurately? That's a line that I think in our industry and TV and certainly social media has become a lot more blurred, a lot more difficult for people to kind of parse through what's true and what's, I'm not going to use that term that gets used, but what's not true. But we've tried to learn some new ways to do things. We have gotten a little bit more involved in video. I can kind of put together a amateur level video. We've introduced a couple of podcasts in sports, dealing with high school sports. I've had one involved with running. So those are different ways that we're trying to keep up with the changing ways that people are consuming information these days. Just kind of on my front just a little bit, it's been a privilege to be the sports editor of the News and Record, not once but twice now. Some really big shoes to fill, because there was a legacy that I still hear about at times from the days that Smith Barrier was the sports editor here, and Erwin Smallwood, who's a friend of mine, and who I still will hear from occasionally. Were just, the sports editors back in the day were just they were sort of lions in town, and it was just a really different era. But those had been very big shoes to try to fill. So I've enjoyed being a sports editor, but for me, I think, and this has been a real surprise for my career, has been the niche I have found in Greensboro with the running community. How many runners do we have in here? I know we've got at least 2. I started running in 2003. So I was like 41 years old, and I am the child of 2 loving parents, but 2 parents who were a little on the heavier side, and my brother as well. And one of those 3 people in 2003, I was visiting, they said, "You look like you're finally filling out." I've been filling out over at McDonald's over here. I was filling out. And so I just thought about that, and I'm like, I got to do something. So I heard one of my colleagues was running, and a friend at church was running, and so I kind of got into it. And that December, I ran my first half marathon, and I think my wife thought, okay, well, that's kind of going to be that. He's not going to do that anymore. He'll get bored with it. And so I'm still doing it today. In 2009, our editor, some of you may know John Robinson, the blogging trend was happening, and he was encouraging people on the staff to introduce a blog about a topic that you were passionate about. And so running was going to be that thing for me, and it took me kind of a long time to sort of settle on a title, because I wanted the title of the blog to be cool, and running shorts is not bad. but I started blogging and writing about things in the community, not writing about me, but just writing about people in the community and events in the community. And that has just given me a chance to be involved in the community in a way that just being a sports editor would not have done that for me, or even being involved as a scout parent or things like that. And the people I've met have become, they really are my social network. They're, you spend a lot of time with them running on Saturday mornings. They've become good friends, and that's just been something I wouldn't have thought 20 years ago. I would have thought, well, you're not going to be a runner, because I was not an athlete in high school. So that's been a really nice surprise. On the sort of looking at it sort of from the higher end, it's given me a chance to rub shoulders with some kind of cool people in athletics. I got to spend a half a day with Matt Keflezighi in Raleigh a few years ago. I've gotten to interview Shalane Flanagan, the New York City champion from a couple of years ago. Dina Castor, who was a marathon legend in the country. And they're all just like really nice and people that are just really gracious with their time. Paul Chalimo, who is a UNCG alum, I think is still going to win another Olympic medal or two before his career is over. But the best thing, absolutely best thing, has been meeting people in the community. Bobby is who you know as a runner, is one of the first people I remember as a runner. We were both, I guess, adult chaperones on a scout trip at Bear Island, right? And I don't think I was running at the time, and I barely knew Bobby, but this guy was out on the beach just running up and down the beach, and he'd come in after 4 miles and get water, and then he'd head back out and he'd do 4 more miles, and this goes on like all morning. And, I think he went running 20 miles a day, which is a short run, right? So, but Bobby and I later, Bobby in 2014 was working on getting a group together to go run at the Grand Canyon. And I remember his emails. He had a bunch of people on his emails. Chris, I don't know if you were on that email or not, but a bunch of people were on it, and the only person that committed to go on the trip with Bobby was me. And so, you know, Bobby, 100 milers, and you can see how I'm built. There's not much here. And so Bobby was as gracious training with me as I could ever have imagined. We went to Pilot Mountain a few times and ran up and down the road. And I would run up the first couple of times, and after that it was kind of a walk run. And so we got to the Grand Canyon that October, and the goal was to run across to the north, from the South Rim to the North Rim, about 23 miles, and then to run back. So this would have been about 46 miles. Bobby, of course, is in great shape. I had never run at altitude, and even at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, you're still, what is that, 2,500 feet? So you're still, even at the bottom, you're still up. And I just was not in great shape. We had run one day, we had gone like 33 miles, which is the furthest I'd ever run in one day. And I thought, okay, well, I'll get out there and I'll be able to get back across. And after we go down, we get to the Colorado River, it's still dark. And I think I whined and complained all the way up the North Rim. Bobby kept saying, he kept pointing, he said, all we got to do is get to those trees up there. And I'm like, I'm looking at the sides of the canyon, and I'm like, that's like 6 different layers of colors. Those trees, and I didn't think I would ever make it. And kind of one of the neat parts of that story, Bobby wound up running back without me. But when he got to the North Rim, he found me a ride to get back to the South Rim. And I don't know if you've ever done that. That's about a 4-hour car ride. To get that 23 miles.
175, 200 miles.
Yeah, it's a long ways. And another guy in another group had bonked on the run, and so the two of us hopped into this car with this fella from Texas named Tommy. And Tommy was sort of your stereotypical Texas, just nice guy, Texas accent and all that. And I had sort of known Mitch because our groups had sort of been running together, so we sort of knew who each other were, but we didn't know Tommy. And so basically what happened was two people got in a car at the Grand Canyon with a total stranger and then went for a ride. And so we're both wiped out. But I'm sitting in the back seat as we're leaving, and you know, as you leave the North Rim, you have to drive north a little ways. And I'm thinking, this dude could drive us into Utah, kill us, dump the bodies, and nobody will ever know. But Tommy drives us back. He's driving really fast. He's driving on both sides of the road, and it was just an interesting car ride back. He buys us dinner at this Navajo Taco. That's the name of it. He bought us dinner, insisted that he paid, and it just turned out to be the best thing would have been able to run back with Bobby and not have the runner you're with having to go back by himself. That would have been the best thing, but it just really led to an unexpected surprise for me, and something I got to write about. Is that the 1 minute warning? Okay. But I've gotten to meet so many different people in the community. I've got a profile at Running Shorts where I feature a different runner every Friday morning. Been doing that 350 Fridays in a row, have not missed one. And it's been people that grew up here and they all live here. And I think one of the things that makes this such a great community, I've also been able to interview runners from here who were born in Ethiopia, South Africa, Germany, England, France, Japan, Cuba, Ireland, the Philippines, and Puerto Rico and Canada. And that I think is, I think the running community is a real reflection of the community at large in Greensboro, which you guys know well and serve so well. And I appreciate you inviting me this morning and hearing our story.